Greetings, vloggers, bloggers, followers, and podders. Dustin here from Dustin's Dynasty with the second half of this week's installment of the vlogs. Today we are having the Zoom background on, as always. It is of the Joshua Whetzel Preservation Area near Confluence, Pennsylvania, showing down from the overlook down on the town of Confluence, which is a beautiful town this time of year. And I was there a few weekends ago, and it was a wonderful place to be. The t-shirt I am launching today is hashtag autism at work, and I will include information about that in the video description and on YouTube. Today I'm using the Zoom platform, and today we're going to specifically talk about the Zoom platform and how, for autistic adults specifically, how it can be a beneficial tool to be helpful in engagement and how it can be engagement and process for not only work, but post-education and so forth. So, before COVID-19, things such as meeting on Zoom, very few people heard of the device the tool called Zoom or any other Teams, any other platforms of that nature. So, for autistic people, it's kind of hard. There's a lot of statistics about autistic people. A lot of them do not like to drive vehicles. A lot of them do not like to have issues with maintaining and attaining and keeping employment. So for a tool such as Zoom, even though it has some issues and deficits, it still has its benefits for keeping autistic people able to do things and still able to engage in their community. Same thing with other people with other conditions, but specifically we're looking at how it affects the autism community. And so you have to deal with workplace culture. That can be an issue sometimes, but and understanding the norms and of office traffic and things like that. However, last March that all came to a halt because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and the world was shut down, and we all for at least 2 months I had to work remotely, and that was a challenge. But the things were developed, and thankfully we had tools such as Zoom and video cameras and things of that nature to make it easier on everyone. So that the burnout days were denied, work from home days. A lot of people didn't telecommute back in the early 2020. So it was kind of a big thing. It was a silver lining. So COVID was it changed everything and kind of created a silver lining for Zoom. So working from home, it helped beat the pandemic. Autistic employees were thriving, and to experience what neurotypicals first to experience what we discovered as neurodivergent people experience in everyday situations. They didn't want to reduce the opportunity to spend time together and struggle to find a social connection. Sudden shift to remote work led to an explosion in innovation of live streaming, group chatting, video conferencing, so on and so forth. It also led to the widespread adoption of digital communication, and has made it normalizing what autistic people have been asking for years: accessible, productive, inclusive remote work options. Emerging cultural professional norms around video conferencing technologies such as Zoom, WebEx, Google Meet, and Microsoft Teams cater to a variety of autistic challenges and help avoid the total mental shutdown that is often associated with burnout. Burnout is one of the reasons most autistic American adults have higher rates of unemployment and underemployment than adults with other disabilities and the general population. As an autistic person, finding and keeping a job can be impossible at times, but this year job seekers are doing better than ever. That was from Dr. Kerry Magro, and he is a member of the National Autism Association. And he's a well-known advocate, by the way. Commuting to work is one of the most significant barriers to employment for autistic people. Driving and using public transportation can be sensorily overwhelming experiences. You never know when there's going to be a bus, train, or Uber that arrives late. Many people in our community focus on structure and routine, so the ability to create our own structure and routine at home can be beneficial. People don't realize how much more inclusive quarantine has been for autistic employees. Having the ability to turn off the video camera is wonderful. To have the opportunity to not to talk and not have to worry about maintaining perfect eye contact is also another huge benefit. Of course, these privileges are only extended to those who can find and hold down white-collar jobs. For autistic product marketers, such as Shanghai or Paragal, being able to keep a weighted blanket on her lap while working remotely helps her stress and anxiety. And she couldn't walk around the office and going to meetings doing that. Uh, Using comfortable, familiar aids like blankets and other assistive devices makes it much easier in the privacy of her home. She can be off screen or on screen as much as she chooses. It helps regulate the energy and avoid burnout. In person, most people have to analyze a complex of visual, auditory, and sensory signals to facilitate, you know, what is going on in their environment. Um, you know, there's a lot to process in turn taking, and it's an universal characteristic of social interactions. Many autistic people lack a basic understanding when it is time, how and when to take turns in a conversation, which can have devastating social consequences, myself included. In the wild west of Zoom, where conversational norms are still being established, and some are still learning to be using all the tools, willing facilitators can grant access and indicate exactly when to unmute or unmute something from being said. That's a good quality. You know, it's definitely something. It's definitely something to think about. And in the terms of which steamrolling and create a conversation in a dominant social group, and everybody's equal. And for a medical school student out of Kentucky, remote call simplified turn taking. I like not having to navigate speaking in 20 different social interactions before class, all filtering out different environmental sounds. Now she feels empowered to speak up because of the rules of engagement are clear. Professional communication may also be able to be and clarify now because of the working from home, working from across multiple time zones and managing employees whose lives have been upended by a pandemic, wildfires, economic crashes, locust swarms, and election-related stress require concise, direct communication. And sometimes autistic people are known for subtle messaging that doesn't work on Zoom. Suddenly, for the first time ever, autistic people are being praised for their communication skills. Similarly, somebody who works in healthcare in Oklahoma says shifting norms have embodied her to ask for accommodation she's needed for a long time. For a long time, she's felt empowered. I will request an audio-only Zoom call so I can move around, which can help me focus. I request live captioning in large meetings. Recently, technology company Otter.ai announced the launch of live conferencing for conference calls and webinars to improve accessibility in online spaces. Undoubtedly, the disruption of COVID has wrought on the established communication norms that will take decades to untangle. But welcome as recent develops are, only time will tell how they will impact neurodivergent job seekers' ability to get a job. Pre-pandemic, 85% of college graduates with autism couldn't find work. Autistic job seekers are further marginalized because of their class or race, or couldn't find because are harder to come by. And of course, many autistic people experience difficulties with communication and executive functioning that would prevent them to find work they do from home. However, COVID might have changed all this. As more industries going to convert in-office to work from home jobs, accommodations might be easier to come by. The advantages new media brings to autistic people might be extrapolated by marginalized communities such as deaf people and single working parents. Digital media use for human connections to lay the ground for new inclusive social structures. Online communities and their social norms, such as live captioning, may eventually render back to the offline communities after the pandemic. We can only wonder what the effects of have on the future of this human connection. May we never needed the lates in office ping pong tables, lattes in office ping pong tables, or we don't think of bliss and excess breath, hedonistic pleasures. But at times, our bliss can be quite simple. Communication is a balm, is solvent, is fundamental, and is a human right. For those who have been ostracized from society for so long, what a unique joy to connect. And I can tell you, I've never been so blessed. Now, my part about it is that I've never been so blessed as an autistic person. I'm able to do so many things, attend so many conferences. There's just so much opportunity now that as an autistic person, I can learn more about myself and things that I need help with and other people need help with, using these platforms. And they're just wonderful. So I just want to say that, and that I hope it's here to stay for a while because it really helps. So with that being said, I want to thank you for listening today. As always, you can like, follow, and subscribe on this video. You can also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Dustin's Dynasty, Pinterest and TikTok at Dustin's Dynasty ASD, on the web at DustinsDynastyUSA.com. I want to thank you for listening and have a good weekend. Thank you and have a good weekend.